Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington. My name is Kathryn Kauffman and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. And every Monday night we do a live show on so many different topics. We've done shows on black-eyed children, life after death, ghosts and spirits, doppelgangers, and tonight's episode is going to be what is a golem. Hey Samantha, hey Lana, hey Lauren, hey Julie. So I'm just going to give people a few minutes to get their notifications and get on here so that we can start discussing. Hey Fawn, hey Teresa, hey Cynthia. Now this is a really complex topic, golems are. Hey Danny, hey Sandra, hey Amanda, Georgia, Elizabeth, and Heba. Kisses, you guys. Hey, Ariana. How many of you guys know what a golem is, or have you ever heard of a golem? Hey, Melissa. Actually, this was so complicated as I got into it, and I hope that I can pronounce everything correctly. Hey, Chantel. Yes, and Chantel, if you can't catch the rest of it, you know it's always, all of these episodes are uploaded to my YouTube channel. So you can go back and rewatch any of these episodes anytime you want, especially those people who really enjoyed the synchronicity of numbers last week. If you want to go back and listen to any of those numbers, feel free. And I'll leave the link to the YouTube channel in the comments section. Hey, Doris. So anyway, let's get to what a golem is. The word golem occurs in the Bible in Psalm 139:16, which uses the word golem, which means my light form or raw material. And this kind of connotes an unfinished or raw being, something that's not complete. It's not completed in God's eyes. And I found this really, really interesting. Hey, Misty. In some of the texts, they refer to Adam as a golem for the first 12 hours of his existence because he was without a soul or unfinished. And a lot of these texts where they refer to golems is in the Talmud, which is a lot of Jewish texts. The two specific documents that they refer to are the Talmud and the Sefer Yetzirah. The Sefer Yetzirah is the book of creation, and it is kind of like a magical guide, if you will. And it is used by a lot of Western European Jews in the Middle Ages that has supposedly contains instructions on how to make a golem. And after I explain, kisses guys, thank you. After I explain what the research is that I found on golems, then I'm going to go through 4 different ways to create a golem. And it's not specific, these are just general things, but I just thought it was very interesting. They refer to a Rabbi Jacob ben Shalom, who arrived in Barcelona from Germany in 1325, and remarked that the law of destruction is the reversal of the law of creation. And this is what the primary works is in creating a golem. Golems were created as helpers, they were created as protectors. There were a lot of things that they created golems to help with feasts. Let's see. Okay. Here is one story. Often in Ashkenazic Hasidic lore, the golem would come to life and serve his creators by doing tasks assigned to him. The most well-known story of the golem is connected to Rabbi Judah. I can't say the last name. Bezail. Anyway, he's the rabbi of Prague in 1500. Hey, Nicholas. Let's see. We'll get a comment here. Oh, Heva says Smeagol from Lord of the Rings referred to himself as a golem. Yes, and So golems are referred to in a lot of D&D, in a lot of movies, and in a lot of things in the modernistic way right now. But most of the research on golems is really from rabbinical writings of the rabbis to each other in their journals about what they experienced and about communiques to other rabbis about the golems. And so one of the best stories was this rabbi of Prague in 1500, and it was said that he created a golem out of clay to protect the Jewish community from blood libel and to help out doing physical labor. But here is an interesting point, and after I present the 4 different ways of creating the golem, it was written that it was really important for the golem to rest on the Sabbath, which is Saturday, and that if that wasn't allowed, that the golems would run rampant and actually kill people. So one always had to be sure and remove the shim from the golem's mouth on Friday evening before the Sabbath on Saturday. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Also, in Polish tales of old, and specifically the Brothers Grimm, they refer to golems with inscribed Hebrew words in some of these tales, which was, so a lot of it is passed down in folklore as well. Some of the oldest stories of golems date back to early Judaism and the Talmud, as early as 1100. And hey, Mary, early on, the main disability of the golem was the golems were unable to speak. So that was the major communication disability in dealing with the golem, is that it had no language or no higher thought. The word golem, like I said, means my light form or raw material. And so it was said that the golems were made from either clay or earth. And the only care a golem required was that it couldn't be active on the Sabbath day. So the golem's body, was stored like in a chest or a cabinet. And this was interesting too. And I'll tell you more about this after we discuss the shim. If anybody has a question, please feel free to ask. I will try to answer as best as I can. I'm not an expert at this. And even though my name is Kauffman, doesn't go very far with this kind of thing. But I think that the stories about golems were fascinating. In fact, the first time that I heard about it was, it's the Truth Is Out There show. What's the name of that show? Anyway, Scully and Mulder. And they did an episode called Kaddish, which is a prayer. But they had made the show into about a golem. So I found that really, really interesting, because they were actually pretty accurate on that show. And for the life of me, I can't find it these days. I looked for it to just re-watch it before we had this episode, and they had little clips of it on YouTube, but I couldn't find anything else. The word golem comes from Hebrew, and what that means in Hebrew is a shapeless mass. Hey, Missy. Hey, Shauna. And then they also translate it into Yiddish, which is Golem. So that's interesting. Yes, Eva, X-Files. That's X-Files, Kaddish. If any of you guys find it, send me a message and let me know. Hey, Valerie. So, let's get into the 4 different ways before we run out of time on how to create a golem. Okay. Hey, Amanda. Oh, Netflix. Yeah, Amanda, I'll look on that. So Amanda had a comment that Netflix has the X-Files on there. So They may have that episode, so I'll have to go on there and find out. So most of the versions of making a golem include shaping the golem into a figure resembling a human being, and using God's name to bring this shapeless mass to life. And so here's the first way. So the first way, according to one story, to make a golem come alive, one would shape it out of soil or clay, and then walk or dance around it, saying a combination of letters from the alphabet and the secret name of God. To kill the golem, its creators would walk in the opposite direction, saying and making the order of words backwards. So, that's interesting. The second way that I found, so Heba has a question, why would you want to create one? Just as in, I think it was the 1500s, let me go back and look really quick, Heba. Yes, 1513 to 1609, and this is in Hasidic Ashkenazic lore. The rabbi created a golem to help protect the Jewish community from the blood libel going on at the time, and also to help with the physical labor that needed to be done in the community. So they were created to not only protect, but to serve as labor for some of the projects. They were created to serve humans or people for a lot of celebrations or big kind of get-togethers. And they were like, it was like creating temporary help or temporary protection. And so as soon as the function was over, they were uncreated or taken apart and put back into the container that they were stored in. So they were talking a lot in the research about storing a golem. So Shauna says she saw this on an episode of Supernatural. Yeah. Heba asks, are golems good? Not necessarily. In a lot of the stories, Heba, some of the golems had kind of gone rampant and destroyed a lot of property and actually killed people. And some of the rabbis had to literally trick the golem into removing the incantation that brought it into creation to uncreate this. So the second way, so Amanda says, oh, okay. Okay, the second way to create a golem, other sources say once the golem has been physically made, one needs to write the letters Alf, Mem, Tav, which is emet, which means truth, on the golem's forehead, and the golem would come alive or be incanted into life. Erase the Aleph, and you are left with Mem and Tav, which is met, and that means death. So they would inscribe certain Jewish words or letters on the forehead that were meant to bring this creature to life. And then when it was time to destroy the creature, they would remove one of the letters or the words, which would change the meaning of the word, and that would destroy the golem. So let's see. Mary has a comment. Oh, her phone keeps freezing up. You guys chime in. Tell me if you're having problems with your feed freezing up. I usually can see when I'm freezing up, but right now it doesn't appear on my end that I can see that. David says he has good feed on his Wi-Fi. And Shauna has a comment about the golem. The golem had a scroll in his mouth. That's the Shem. And that was... okay, that's in number 3. So the third way to bring a golem into creation was to write God's secret name. Now, it's not the word that we use every day. This is a secret word that's used. And you would write this on a piece of parchment, which is called a shem. and that's placed in the golem's arm or in the mouth. And then they would simply remove the shim to destruct the golem after it was created. So, interesting. The fourth way, okay, the arm way was the third way. The fourth way was the shim. And here's another writing on it. Other versions add that an entity of clay would be brought to life by placing into its mouth a shem with a magical formula. So, in that writing, they're saying that the shem is a magical formula, not necessarily the secret name for God. But to me, that's the magical formula. It could be one and the same. And then the golem could be later immobilized by pulling out the shem or reversing the creative combinations. And this is referred to by Rabbi Jacob Shalom from Germany in 1325, and remarked that, here we go, the law of destruction is the reversal of the law of creation. And this kind of goes along with how you view your actions on a daily basis. Like if you are ever in question on whether or not something you're going to do is evil, or if it isn't, if what you do is destructive in any way to anyone, that is kind of an evil act, really. And if what you're doing is constructive, then that is in accordance with, a good evolution of your soul. So, here is another thing that I wanted to read to you guys. And, so I told you about the golem having to rest on Saturday, otherwise it would run rampant. And there are also stories that tell of golems that fell in love and when rejected became violent monsters. Seen in accounts. You know what? We do that too, I think. So Shauna has a comment. If it hurts anyone in any way, then it is evil. You're exactly right. So some versions have the golem eventually going on a murderous rampage. The rabbi then manages to pull the shem from the mouth and immobilize the golem in front of the synagogue, where the golem fell into pieces. The golem's body was stored in an attic of the old new synagogue, where it would be restored to life again if needed. According to the legend, the body of Rabbi Lowell's golem still lies in the synagogue attic. When the attic was renovated in 1883, no evidence of the golem was found. However, some versions of this tale state that the golem was stolen and entombed in a graveyard. So, in a lot of the rabbinical writings past this point, it seems that there were several people that visited the attic before the golem was removed, and actually in their journals and in their writings to each other discussed having seen the golem that was stored in the attic. So I'm going to read you that in just a second. So Lana has a comment. What about a freezer spell? It's not evil, just stops gossip. Well, the golems had no speech and no language. That was one of the things that was difficult about dealing with the golem. It was unable to have any kind of speech. And really the person who made the golem was the only one that could direct it. So, anyway, let me read you this really interesting story. Some strictly Orthodox Jews believe that the Maharal did actually create a golem. And this is Rabbi, I can't say the whole name, Mendel Schneerson, the last Rabbi of Lubavitch, wrote that his father-in-law, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak, was asked about his experiences visiting the attic of the old new synagogue, and he said that he was unwilling to speak about it. However, Mr. Yitzhak wrote in his memoirs that he visited the old synagogue's attic, and his father was very grave when he descended back to the ground floor, saying that he had recited psalms for his safety while he visited the attic. So something very, very heavy influenced him when he was up there. He said that in his writings, he said there was a form of a man wrapped up and covered, and the body was laying on its side, and said that he was very frightened by this sight. He said, I looked around at some of the shemas, or discarded ritual objects that were there, and left frightened by what I had seen. So these are really often written about in a lot of the rabbinical journals and texts. So Shauna has a comment. On the episode, the other people, which happened to be Nazis, the golem turned on the owner until the scroll was put back in the golem's mouth. Yes, in a lot of the writings, the golem actually turns on the person who made it and goes on these horrible rampages. So Shauna says, somehow they had a way to turn the golem until the scroll was put back in the golem's mouth. Yeah. Some of these writings are really, really interesting to read. I found the ones where the rabbis were discussing the golem that was stored in the synagogue's attic. Those were the most interesting because they were actually journaling to each other about their experience with going to the attic and seeing these artifacts that were there before they were removed. So, there's a difference between a rabbi and a Rabbi. And most of the journals were from a Rabbi, which is different than a rabbi. The rabbis are rabbis, but it's a higher level, and they're more of the community leaders. So, let's see if anybody else has any more comments or questions. Let me check our time. We are out of time! Oh my God! So if you guys tuned in earlier, I did a little promo clip with Michael Cook, and he's going to be on our show next Monday. I'm so stoked about this. In fact, I could barely tear away to get this show on the road for tonight because we were talking about all kinds of things for next Monday, like, how many sightings had there been in Kentucky, how many were valid, where the majority of these sightings for Bigfoot are. So you guys need to really tune in next Monday at 7 p.m. for this special guest, Michael Cook. He's a cryptid researcher. He does all kinds of seminars on Bigfoot. And you guys really need to tune in and just have a good time with us.
I am Kathryn's flesh golem.
Here, let me distract you.
Oh.
No, I need to create you to go make dinner for me right now. Here. There.
Okay. I go.
You guys, I will see you on Friday for Fun Friday, and then again on Monday for Monday Night Live in Lexington. Kisses from Kentucky. If you have any questions about golems, put them in the comment section. Like I said, this episode will be uploaded to YouTube this week, and I will see you later.